Our next speaker, Ms. Shaloo Garg, Managing Director for Growth Stage Startups and Unicorns at Microsoft. Speaking on today's topic, View from Silicon Valley, Disruptive Technologies in Post-COVID World. Over to you, Ms. Shaloo.
Thank you, Melvin. Hey, everyone. Hope you're doing well. As Melvin said, my name is Shaloo Garg, and I'm based here in San Francisco. It's early morning here. As you can see, the sun is just rising, but really excited to be here. Firstly, my apologies. I was actually slated to present yesterday, but had a family emergency come up. So my sincere apologies, but I made sure that I came here today. So before we get into some of the key things that are happening in the disruptive space, I just wanted to quickly give you a background about myself. Firstly, Middle East is very near and dear to my heart. So I actually grew up there. I was born in India, but I grew up in Middle East. My dad was a nautical engineer, and so we traveled quite a bit, and Middle East was his home base. And I have very fond memories. I did my schooling there. So anytime a speaking opportunity invitation comes in, I'm like, yes, absolutely, let's do it. But right now, as Melvin said, I am at Microsoft and I manage the growth stage companies. So growth stage means pre-IPO, primarily companies that are either ready to go public or are ready to go into SPAC space. And other than that, I also am an individual contributor, or rather, I would say an independent contributor in Forbes. I write a lot about partnerships, about emerging technology trends. In fact, I have a blog coming out as to what are the disruptive technologies in 2022. I also chair the UN Women Board for Generation Equity Forum, which is focused more around giving opportunities for young girls in developing countries, and then I'm a guest speaker at Penn Law School. So with that, let's get to the discussion of today's topic. So what I wanted to do in the next few minutes is basically just level set all that you have absorbed in the last couple of days, and hopefully you're enjoying the conference. The world today, right? If you take a back step, no matter which part of the world you're in, no matter what profession you're in, no matter which part of stage of professional journey you're in, the world today has actually taken us through a series of emotions. And I use the word emotions is because that's what we are all about. We are humans, right? So even if we talk about technology, financial services, healthcare, so on and so forth, at the end of the day, we are tied together with emotions. And so in the technology sector, given COVID, we have seen a variety of aspects that took place in the last 1 year, and I would say now a year and a half, which is when COVID hit us, it was shock. Then it was like, no, this is not happening. This is going away soon, right? Don't even worry about it. Then we saw frustration. Oh my God, this is real. This is happening. We saw depression where we said, gosh, I may just lose my job, or all these clients that I had, a few of them may not even move forward, right? Then we got into the experiment phase, trying to see, okay, well, if this isn't working, what was working in a pre-COVID world, then maybe we should experiment. Maybe we should innovate and see what else can happen. We finally made a decision, and then here we are today. This is, this graph is extremely important, and I actually use these with most of the investor meetings that I have here. And that's primarily because it's a human curve. It's taken us through, last year and a half has taken us through a journey which none of us expected. And it's transformed the way we do business today. And so with that, the change that is ahead of us, in my view, fall in 4 buckets. One is it's no longer about surviving, right? It's no longer about survival of the fittest, which is if I do, a certain aspect of my job, I will get my paycheck. It's more than that. And we'll talk a little bit about that in just a few minutes. It's all about digital democracy. I love this aspect about the change that COVID has got us. I mean, I can talk for hours and hours about digital democracy. In financial services, we have seen that banking has gone completely robust, right? You've got like checks that I got to tell you personally, I was very hesitant to deposit a check via mobile app pre-COVID. But now with all the features and all the good aspects that have come in, digital democracy is really, really reigning supreme in terms of the emerging trends that are coming in. And we'll talk about that in detail. Number 3 is accelerating digital adoption to enable reimagination. And this is just a simple way of looking at things, how we were hesitant about looking at digitizing what we did, and now we just cannot live without it. And I'll share with you some examples. And then finally, innovate or perish. I've been saying this for many, many years, and I've been in this business almost for 20 years now. I had said this about a decade ago. I still remember I was speaking at a conference in Amsterdam. And one of the questions that I got was, well, what if, we're a large company, what if we just don't have time for innovation? We've got money, we can continue doing whatever we are doing. But the bottom line is you either innovate or you perish. So with that, let's get into this. So from surviving to thriving, I'll share with you an example here. I work with large enterprise companies, and I also work with a lot of startups, right? And one of the themes that I saw with startups last year was, it was all about, the product is not good enough. And so the key aspect was, let's say if they were serving a specific industry, that did not work. It was all about diversification. So for example, if they were serving fin services sector and that wasn't helping increase the bottom line, the next thing was, can we diversify into a healthcare sector? Very difficult, because as you know, most of the solutions that are built are very industry specific. But a lot of companies have come out really strong in terms of recovering revenue. Second is startup mindset. I absolutely love this. I have to share an example with you. Last year, I met one of the largest banks here in the US. They were headquartered in New York City. And I still remember when I met the CTO, and this was a virtual meeting, she was telling me, she said, hey, I've just secured a $10 million budget. And it's all about understanding how the new normal is going to be, which is post-COVID world. I don't know where to start. I just don't know. I mean, is it blockchain? Is it something else? Like, what do I do? Do I just go hire people, or do I just repurpose the talent that I have? And the beauty is, even the top CEOs, the CXO suite, now is beginning to come into that scrappy mode of a startup mindset. And so one thing that we have come to a conclusion on is that you do need a startup mindset to survive. Humans at the core, I talked about this, which is at the end of the day, it's all about humans being connected with each other. Whatever solutions you may have, digital, non-digital, at the end of the day, it is about connecting to the humans. And then ecosystems and adaptability. The reason I mention this is what the new trend moving forward is going to be is tapping into the ecosystems and adapting. And what that means is, if let's say we are all within an ecosystem, I would lean on you and say, hey, I saw that you did that. What were some of the best practices that you learned during the COVID world? And how can you apply them in post-COVID world? Now, in most of the countries, we are already in post-COVID world, but we still are waiting for that big sort of milestone to happen when we can say it's the new normal. So ecosystems and adaptability, quick adaptability. And I'm not saying that a year down the line, I'm talking about adaptability that happens right away. That is going to be super important. Moving on is digital democracy. As I said, I love this aspect. I can give you examples after examples of how the world has changed. And I live and breathe in the startup space. I'm surrounded by investors, whether they're venture capitalists or private equity firms. This is the best thing, one of the best things that has happened during COVID, which is building resilient operations. We got challenged by our own system. If I thought that I had an amazing product and I had, the world was an oyster for me and I could just go and sell my product, I was proven wrong. Because what the next wave of technology is going to show us is that you can never be complacent. You can never be comfortable with what you have. You have to build resilient operations, which means you have to think beyond what is working for you, which is what we call Plan B. Second is accelerating end-to-end value chain digitization. The gentleman before me, I think his name is Alex, he talked about the value chain, right? It's very important to digitize the end-to-end value chain. It's not just important to say, hey, I'm walking into a grocery store and I'm going to pick up things that I like and I'm going to put it in my cart and then I'll just check out using self-service, which is the digital model. How about you just walk into a store and using your mobile, you key in the items that you need. By the time you're checking out, there are actually those items at the checkout. Of course, there's a manual component involved as well. Reimagining a sustainable operations competitive advantage. I can talk about this over and over again, but it ties back to resilient operations and embracing the future of work. I think as humans, we have come a long way in understanding what this world is yet to bring to us. And we're doing pretty good. I have seen a lot of companies, especially late stage companies, which are very close to going IPO. They think about them. They are going to be trading publicly on New York Stock Exchange. And, in short term, you can see that they were challenged with COVID. And so they quickly sort of came around and said, what can we do differently here? And once we are listed on New York Stock Exchange, how do we go beyond that? How do we embrace the future of work and maintain those quarter earnings for the Wall Street? So digital democracy, I got to tell you, even if we meet a year, 2 years from now, this will continue to mature. And it is one of the most awesome things that have happened to us in the COVID world. Next is accelerating the digital adoption to enable reimagination, which sort of ties into the digital democracy as well, where we're using data, we're using Internet of Things, and we're using AI to better manage operations. It's a no-brainer, right? No matter which part of the world we are in, these technologies are reigning supreme. The other is our customers are changing, right? The way our customers think about buying, about customer service, about shipping, about logistics, about banking, about education, everything is changing around us. And so we have to refocus our digital efforts to meet our consumer demands. I remember I was in the middle of a survey by McKinsey last year, and they had a board, and I was part of the folks who was actually, it was a focus group / survey. And I remember one of the questions that was asked was, well, are we ready, right? Do we know what our consumers want? And the fact of the matter is we don't know what our customers want. So it's very important to spend that time understanding the digital needs of our customers to beat the competitive advantage. And then, increase the speed and productivity of digital solutions, which is, you cannot say that, I have this product which has this enhanced feature functionality and it's going to come out in January 2022. Not happening, right? The world is moving really fast. In one of my predictions for 2022, one of the things that I've mentioned is embracing machine learning and AI in a totally new format. So in the banking sector, how do you look at AI and machine learning, which is tapping into a consumer brain, right? So if I'm a bank, no matter how big or small I am, and if you're my consumer, how do I know what is it that you really, really want in terms of, for example, interest rates, right? And you're getting a loan for home. And do you want to go with 30-year fixed? Do you want to go with something else? And so those are the machine learning algorithms that will really, really dominate the market in the financial sector, in healthcare, and in education. These three industries booming, evergreen industries, and will continue to boom. And last but not the least, I'm sorry I'm going at 100 miles per hour here, I'm just being conscious of time, is innovate or perish. And as I said, I've been consistently, I've written in Forbes about this, everyone is an entrepreneur. If you have a daily 9-to-5 job and you're going somewhere and working for someone, guess what? You are an entrepreneur. And it's all about understanding the new ideas and the business models that you have. You may just be downstairs with a colleague having a cup of coffee and taking a break. And during that break, you may just say, hey, I did something today which I thought I could have done differently. And you know what? Once we go upstairs, I'm going to change that. And so that itself is a new idea. And I think everyone is an entrepreneur in their own skin, and we need to embrace that. We need to prioritize speed over precision. I have seen time and time again where both startups and large corporates spend time to get everything right. And that is not that critical. Yes, of course, accuracy is important, but most important is speed to market. So whatever versions you can get out of the product, whether it's V1, V2, V3, continue innovating. Don't stop. Don't build a product and say, that's it, I'm done. Let my customers run with this. This is also about enhancing, innovating, and making sure that you're keeping up with speed. Number 3 is managing risk. I'm not going to spend too much time on it. Of course, with innovation comes risk, and you need to have the ability and the skin and the chops to embrace risk. Super critical. And the last but not the least is innovation. It is our launch pad out of the COVID-19 crisis. And I mentioned this during my blog as well, is, it's one of those things where you constantly, it's not only in professional life, even in personal life. I have 2 kids who've been at home for a year now, and thank God their schools have opened. But, it has challenged us to think about how we manage the home life, like working. I'm up since 5:30 today. Once I'm done here, I have to drop them to school, and then I'm back on work again. And so how do we manage and innovate our lifestyle? And so it's super important there. So with that, I think I kept it under 15 minutes. I wanted to thank you all for patiently listening to me, sticking with me. And once again, my apologies. I was supposed to be here yesterday, but could not. And of course, I want to thank Sudan Fintech, awesome team, for giving me the opportunity here. So with that, Melvin, I'll pass it on to you.
All right, Shaloo. First of all, I should have said good morning to you, because I'm on.
No worries.
So Shaloo, in the startup sphere, since you're heading it, what is the advice you give to our fintech startups who are coming up in Sudan? There are a lot of fintech startups working. So what advice would you give on that note?
2 pieces of advice. One is fintech is an evergreen space. So whatever solution you come up with, it's there. Like, someone will use the solution. That's number 1. Number 2 is it is also a very, very hyper competitive market. It's very noisy. Trust me. Fintech and healthcare are 2 spaces where I meet most of the startups in. It's extremely noisy market. And so it's very important to keep your head focused and also not give up. I would also add, under not giving up, it's always good to look or find large enterprise customers early on in your journey as you're building startups, because that one logo can take you places. So, whether it's a POC, which is, running a point of validity of solution, or a POC, whatever that is, try to get that there, because that is super critical. And the market is huge. I mean, the total addressable market is huge.
Thank you again, Shaloo, for your time and your presentation. Hope to meet you in person maybe next year.
Yes, hopefully soon. Hopefully. And thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
One question from me is, which part of Middle East, which country was that you were brought up?
So I was brought up in Kuwait, Dubai, which is my favorite place. I love the food there. I have been to Sudan. I love the place. And I've also been to Syrian refugee camps as part of my work with UN. So Middle East is near and dear to my heart. Please invite me. I'll come there in person. I promise.
Did you see the Sudanese pyramids?
I did. Yes.
I haven't. So you take me there then. All right.
Absolutely.
All right. You take care. Thank you very much. Have a good day ahead. Have a pleasant day.
All right. Bye.
Okay.